Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Just let me know in the chat box if all is clear. Awesome. Awesome. Great to have each one of you. Am I audible? Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Just make your chat setting as all panelists and attendees because I see a lot of you saying, hello, awesome husbands, and only the person who can see it is me. The others can't see it. So just make your setting as all panelists and attendees. So today's session is an interesting one. I'm not from a business background. Okay, nobody in my family has ever done any business. All right, but as I started working with corporates, as I started understanding how organizations work, how businesses work, and today when I do this work, there is a lot of investment that I need to do. I have to spend money on Facebook ads, the Zoom, the ConvertKit, and whole lot of tools I got to invest in. And then what the money comes in, whatever remains, whatever is spent, that's how a business is done. And because of that, I have been studying, understanding how the businesses work, why people buy from others, why people go through a program, why do they pay the amount of money that they pay, what is it about it? And when I study it, I realize that everything, including business, is not a mystery. Business is science. How many of you agree with that? Just write agree in the chat box. Business is science. It has its steps, it has strategies, it has plans, it has things you can do. But the point is, when it comes to business, the intelligent people don't go to reinvent the wheel. What they do is instead of reinventing the wheel, they use the wheel that is already invented. In other words, they basically learn from others. They basically learn from mentors, they learn from coaches, start implementing it. People go to IIMs. Why? To learn this stuff. Nobody, there are people who have learned it, but they have at least learned it from experience from the right people who are successful, not from people who have a miserable business. If you are working under a miserable guy who is running under loss, what can you learn from him? So either people have learned from successful business owners, or they have gone to the IIMs and all the business, the management schools, and they have learned it because it is a science. And if you look at marriage, it is the same. In business, you have on one side, you have the organization, the boss, the owner, the company, the service provider. And on the other side, who do you have? On the other side, no matter whether it is B2B or B2C, who do you have on the other side? Good to have you, Hitesh. The customer, the customer, correct? On the other side, you have a customer. So the way you look at yourself is so important in a business. So we are going to look at the three things. There are at least, I think there are four things. Let's see how many I can cover. And how those things, because of these three reasons or four reasons, why businesses thrive and marriages end. And if you can understand this, because in your business, you are doing this day in and day out. In your workplace, you're doing this day in and day out. If you had not done it, your boss, your manager would have kicked you out of that workplace. He would have divorced you. He would have divorced you. But you're doing those things. That's why you are there. At every appraisal, your boss says, yes, I'm not going to put you onto improvement thing, or I'm not going to give you 6 months probation. I'm going to continue with you. Why? It's not because of the boss, not because he's very generous. It's because of you. But with marriage, we don't realize this. In marriage, we think that marriage happens, and job, we have to work. But the same thing applies to marriage as well. So we are going to look into this, some of the interesting things we are going to discuss. But before we do all that, let's jump into the five code of honor. How many of you are new out here? Just write me in the chat box or write FT in the chat box. and others, please welcome all the new members. FT is first time. So we have Subhashish, Vishal, Irfan. Welcome, welcome to great to have each one of you. So welcome, good to have the FTs as well as the STs and the MTs. Everybody, awesome guys, great to have you here. So let's jump into the session and let's look at the 5 rules that we follow out here. The first rule is love. No matter what you tell me, no matter what your wife is doing right now, no matter what your wife has said to you, no matter whether your wife has insulted your parents or not, no matter whether whatever has happened, your wife has applied for divorce. If you dig deeper on the superficial level, it will look different. Oh, my story is this, his story is that, the other person's story is this. We were in love marriage, he was in arranged marriage, we didn't know each other from before. No matter what you say, if you go a little bit deeper, you'll realize that in all the marriages that ever end, what ends first is completed for me. In all the marriages, love marriages, arranged marriages, Indian marriages, Western marriages, marriages between people from two religions, doesn't matter. The first thing that ends is absolutely right, love. Love. But the problem with us is we don't see that. We get hooked onto the symptoms of the problem. So the problem in your marriage is, I repeat it again and again, that you're stuck at power struggle stage. That until you realize this, no matter how many times you get married, no matter who you get married to, you're going to have a miserable marriage. This is the most important thing. I've seen people, one relationship before marriage, break up. Second relationship, break up. Then they say to themselves, love marriages are bad, relationships are bad. These women are like this. So let me go for a Sida Sada Ladki from arranged marriage. Sida Sada Ladki. Let me look for a simple girl. Get married to that simple girl. Again, few months, few years later, you have separation and then break up. Say to yourself, the problem in my marriage was my in-laws were interfering too much in my marriage. Let me get married to somebody else. How many of you know at least people who had relationships before marriage, then they got married, now they are going through a miserable marriage, or this is their second marriage or the third marriage? Just write I do in the chat box if you know people like that. Relationship after relationship after relationship. So they get into a relationship, break up, relationship, break up, relationship, break up, relationship, break up. Yeah. I know, I get so many messages. Though it is for marriage, I get so many messages. I'm 56 years old. I'm a divorcee. I'm all alone. I need a friend. I need a lady friend. What happened? How did you end up alone at 56? Because you thought that the problem was with the other person. And you thought the solution to your problems is divorce. That's why. Not happy at all. Not happy at all. So the thing is, the problem in our marriage is no love. And there are 2 biggest enemies to love. And and these 2 enemies, I keep seeing them in myself. And I these enemies, they don't look like enemies, they look like friends. And I got to catch myself when these 2 enemies enter into my head. Would you like to know the 2 enemies? Just write yes in the chat box if you would like to know. There are 2 enemies. The 2 enemies. The first enemy is this. Yeah, it is criticism, defensiveness, but there are 2 enemies, very specific ones. Probably I've never shared this, maybe not. I became aware of it a few days ago. That is this. The first one, and it is not only with men, it's with women also. The first one is, I am doing so much for this relationship. I have done so much for this relationship. That's the first one. I sit in myself. You know what? I from 2 o'clock to 4:30, I was making sabji, and then I made rice, and then I did this, then I did that. I cleaned the toilet also. I washed the sink also. I swept the place also. I swapped the place also. I am doing so much for this relationship. And then there is a second one. But my wife is. But my wife is. And then you add to that. But my wife is, just add to that. Everybody has this in their head. I am doing so much for this relationship, but my wife is bad. She doesn't want to understand. She doesn't want to. She's stubborn. She's stubborn. Horrible person. Doesn't care about me and the relationship. Stubborn. I don't matter to her. She's very critical. She's insensitive. She's egocentric. Demanding. How many of you agree with this? Angry. How many of you agree with this? You keep getting these thoughts in your head. You keep getting these thoughts in your head. Yeah. Keep getting these thoughts. And what happens is, the problem is, we believe those thoughts. We believe those thoughts. I believe those thoughts. And when I believe those thoughts, the behavior of mine will be aligned with those thoughts. And when I start thinking like that, what happens to my wife? She starts thinking the same way. She starts saying to herself, to the family, to the people around, she says the same things. My wife, my husband, like I've done so much for this relationship. When he was sick, I took care of him. His mother was this way. I did this. And used to get up in the morning and make tea for him. I used to cook breakfast for him. But he is. How many of you have heard your wife saying this? Yeah, Miran, you're wrong. Well put, Vijay. How many of you have heard your wife saying this? To you, to her parents, just write me in the chat box. Me in the chat box. That's what it is. And if you talk to anybody who is having a miserable marriage, just have a chat with somebody. You will notice that in their whole conversation, that's exactly that. That's how they speak. Anybody. That's how they speak. It means that if they're speaking to you like that, in their head, they're speaking to themselves so many times when they're alone. And now you know the recipe for a miserable marriage. Now you know a recipe for divorce, separation. You keep thinking these two thoughts and your marriage will be destroyed. These thoughts bring criticism. Absolutely, Sandeep. These thoughts bring criticism. And now the next thing is, how do they change? How do you change? They change when I realize that they are thoughts. And thoughts are not reality. But when I think those thoughts continuously, they become reality. Let me repeat that. They are just thoughts, but they are not a reality. But if I continue to think that way, they'll become a reality because I'll behave according to those thoughts. I'll talk according to those thoughts. Now, I spoke about that particular incident, right? The thoughts that were running through my mind. A day later, I was just doing something and I was just looking for something. I think I was looking for something because the thing was over and I was looking for it. It was there. It was there. What does it mean? Pallavi had made sure that we are never short of things in the house. Before the soaps get over, soaps are there in the house. I'm just giving an example. In your case, it will be different. Before something gets over, shampoo gets over, there is shampoo. Before the toilet cleaner gets over, there is toilet cleaner. And when I just sat and thought about the kind of work that Pallavi puts into this family, puts into this house, I felt like an idiot. Forget about to tell her that I'm doing so much, even to think that I'm doing so much for this relationship. I felt like an idiot. So how do you get rid of these thoughts? Think about all the things that your wife has done for you, your family, for the people around. And if you can't think about it, it means that you have played that recorder again, again, and again, and again, and again, again in your head. So when I meet somebody, why do I don't have a talk with them? I don't talk to them. It's because of the same reason. They're going to play that recorder in front of me that how great I am and how horrible my wife is. And you cannot bring love by doing that. You cannot bring love. And bringing love is the only solution. So love. Love is the only thing. The second thing is learning. You go to a Tantravadi, Mantravadi, astrologer. I keep meeting people who have done that. And why doesn't it work? Why do you think all these things don't work? Write in the chat box. Because God is not blessing us, visiting the temple. Why these things don't work? It's a passive surrender. Beautifully put. Passive surrender. If you go to the temple and by going to the temple, it helps you to change your behavior, then things will work. Then things will work. I remember somebody, he was told to do something. Okay, I think it was to get something. I think it was some parrots or something like that, to get a bird from somewhere, keep it in the house and fly it. And then he told me that for a week, the things were good. Things were good. They were living in the same house. Things were good. Why do you think it happened? Why did these parrots make his marriage good for a week? Why do you think, why his marriage improved for a week? Exactly. Thank you, Mohinder. It was a shift in his mind. There was a shift in his approach. How many of you have heard this story of, maybe you have not heard this story. There was a very strict mother-in-law, and the daughter-in-law was really upset with her. So she was so angry at this mother-in-law that she went to somebody, a good confidant, to say that I want to kill my mother-in-law. I'm so angry. I want to kill her because she's hurting me. She's talking negative about me. She doesn't like anything that I do. And the man said, if you kill her directly, people will get to know about it. What you do is you got to kill her with slow poison. Then people will know. People will think that she has, had an heart attack or gradual death or things like that. So in the post-mortem, it will not come. So she gave her this bottle of slow poison and said, every day with a meal, add 1 spoon of this, probably into a tea, add 1 spoon of this. And she says, yeah, that's a great idea. And then he said to her, but when you do this, really be nice to her. Because if you are being rude to her, people will tell to the cops that maybe, or to they keep speaking and you will be blamed because maybe that you killed her because you're not getting along and that's why she died and probably you poisoned her. So you got to be nice to her. And the lady says, no problem. How long will it take? The guy says 3 months. She takes that poison, goes to the house. Every day she adds this poison into her tea, gives it to her. And in order to make sure that she will not be blamed, she starts behaving nicely with the mother-in-law. The days continue, weeks continue. Within a month or two, because she has been behaving nicely, obviously the mother-in-law has become very loving towards her. And as it reaches the 3rd month, the lady comes running to this confidant, this guy, and said, please, 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 I made a big mistake. Please save my mother-in-law because she is so nice to me. She's so caring to me. She's so loving to me. Please save her. And at that, the confidant says, I did not, it wasn't poison. It was just some kind of water that I gave it to you. It wasn't poison. That's what it is. If you had a bulb on movement, just write bulb on. If you had a aha movement, just write aha. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is. So what are we doing here? We are just learning to become awesome, to treat our wife with a lot of love. And you don't have to do anything more than that. Anything more than that. She will fight with herself. There are men on the community where the wife is fighting with herself. Her logic is saying, he has hurt me for the last 8 years, 10 years. I should leave him. But her behavior is not stopping her from, saying no to him when he says, I want to come to your house. Her behavior, her mind, her heart is not stopping, can't stop him from talking to him nicely. Her brain says, 8 years ago, remember what he did, what his parents did, how he hurt me. But she cannot. How many of you are having this experience? Just write I in the chat box. Where she's telling you on your face, I don't want to come back. She's telling you on your face, but she's nice to you. She's nice to you. That is the power. That is the power. So you got to learn, gentlemen. Please, please don't waste time. If you knew, you would have done it. You don't know, that means you got to learn. The next thing is awareness. Abdul is asking, why does this happen? It happens because if you are bitten by a dog, what is the primary objective? And you're bitten by a dog, you had a huge wound and you suffered for about 6 months. All right, you couldn't walk because it was on your leg. What is the primary objective of your brain whenever you see a dog? What is the objective? What's the goal of your brain? What will your brain do? Fear, so that avoid it, so that move away, so that you will be, incident doesn't repeat, so that you will be safe. Exactly, Abdul, safe, so that you will be safe. So in your case, now you get the answer, right? It's the brain. It's the brain. But then, if you are bitten by a dog, but you keep seeing this cute little puppy, and it is running towards you and play with you and all that, you can't resist yourself. On one side, you're saying no. On the other side, your present experience is different from your past reality. That's why it happens. That's why that fight happens. Are you clear? Did you get an insight? That's why it happens. Because a brain knows exactly 70 to 80% of us are not in control of ourselves. There's a friend of mine who always says, we're not rational beings. We just rationalize things. That's all. We're not rational beings. We think that, oh, I made that decision. Your wife thinks that, oh, I made a decision to leave him. No. It was her body, her mind made that decision to leave you. And she's using with logic to justify it. All right. Awareness. Awareness is to see the bigger picture rather than ponder over who is right and who is wrong. It basically, as you continue to learn, your awareness broadens. When you got into the program, you would have got into the program with the intention or with the idea that I am going to fix my wife. I'm going to fix my wife. I'm going to change her. And now it has changed from I know how much I have hurt her. How many of you have realized this? I keep hearing this. I really understand. I really understand why she left me. If I have spoken to you a few weeks ago, before you got into the program, you would have said so many things about what your wife did and how she hurt you and how what she said to your mother, and your mother only said this. But now you don't say that. It is awareness. You learned, and the awareness has broadened. And once that happens, and for that to happen, you got to be consistent. Just be consistent. There are three levels. Finish the first level, finish the second level, get into the third level. So consistency. And the last thing is passion. To live a life filled with meaning and purpose. Let's not go through life. Let's not live a life for other people. And when I say this, to live a life according to what the world wants, when I don't want to live that way. To live a life according to what the world wants, when I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live like that. So to live a life filled with meaning and purpose. Are you guys with me on this? Just write with you if you guys are with me on this. Just write with you. Awesome, gentlemen. Thank you. Let's jump into today's session. Why businesses thrive and marriages fail. Okay. Before I start, write your uh, industry. What industry are you into? IT, aviation, hospitality, like that. Education, IT, fashion, financial services, banking, IT, wellness, education, marketing, IT, intelligence, FMCG, consultancy, automobile, fashion, construction, healthcare, manufacturing, financial services, HR, finance and accounts, record management, operations, manufacturer, politics, advertising, banking and real estate, US healthcare, infrastructure, special chemicals, marketing and technical, pharma, optical business, healthcare. Now, if you notice, no matter which business you are into, if it is thriving, then you are following these rules. And if your marriage has failed, then you did not follow these rules. Because at the end of the day, no matter what business you are into, B2B, B2C, it is all about one thing. And take a guess what it is. It's all about whether you get the business or not, depends on one thing. What is that? It's a relationship. It's a relationship. The kind of relationship that you have. Let's imagine that you are an MBBS doctor. What decides that people will come to you? Because there are 10 and 15 and 20, probably 30 doctors in your small little city that you belong to, your small little locality. But you go to one particular doctor when you get fever. And you know logically that no matter which doctor you go to, all right, when you have fever, now this is pre-COVID, post-COVID, he'll send you for some sort of test. But you know that if you have a general flu, you know that no matter which doctor you go to, they'll give you paracetamol. But you go to that particular doctor, it is the relationship. It's the relationship. So what are we going to look at? He makes you feel wanted. Beautiful way to put it, Russell. The first thing I'm going to look at is how businesses are changing. I spoke about it, I think, the last time a little bit. Go a little bit more deeper. In the past, we had ownership organizations. So what's an ownership organization? It's very simple. You go to that organization, you buy something, and your relationship with that organization is over until you need something more or something else from that organization. So you go to a shop, all right, because you want to buy a fridge, you bought a fridge and your relationship is over. Unless there is some customer service and a customer problem. Otherwise, your relationship is over. Now, that is called an ownership business. organizations. Now, if you look at the world is moving away from ownership to membership or subscription. Today, people do not like to buy, forget about everything. People don't like to buy furniture. When people stay for rent, what do? Write in the chat box. Furniture, forget about anything. Furniture, I'm talking about. Furlenco, correct? Yeah, they hire it. Hire it. Now, that is called a membership economy. That's a membership business. Any other membership businesses that you know? Where people pay every month for the service or the product. Any other membership economy or subscription based economy? Tata Sky, Netflix, OTG platforms, all these Prime, all these OTG platforms, the gym membership, mobile SIM, okay, to an extent. Softwares, yeah. There's a shift. Have you seen the shift in softwares now? All the tools that I'm using, I don't own them. I don't own Zoom. I don't own ConvertKit. I don't own anything. It's all subscription based. Internet, Hotstar, cloud bases, the Google Drives, the safety things. I didn't understand, Vinesh, when you say safety things. All the monthly paid services. If you have Zomato, I think Zomato has subscription, right? Now, based on usage you pay. The houses. Now, that's how the world is moving today, from ownership to membership. And when people are moving away from ownership to membership, the mindset changes. The mindset changes. If you have a ownership, if you work for an ownership organization, then you have a particular kind of mindset. And when you work for a membership organization, the mindset is totally different. What is the mindset you got to have when you are running a membership organization? Let's say you are providing some sort of service. What's the mindset you got to have? You got to be consistent, excellent. What else? The quality, when the quality has to be good. You got to be evolving, very important. Continuous improvement, very well said, Darshan. Customer satisfaction at priority, when? Understand the need of the customer, when? Customer service, when? You got to be faithful, always, always. So in a ownership economy, you have onboarding and continuous nurturing. So in a ownership economy, what is more important? Onboarding or continuous nurturing? Onboarding or continuous nurturing? In an ownership economy, what's important? It's onboarding. How do I get that customer? That's it. Full stop. How can I get more and more customers? Full stop. So when you're working for an ownership economy, your goal is to get more. And if you're a sales rep, for example, your goal is to get more and more and more and more customers. That's your goal. But in a membership economy, your goal is to get more customers, but your bigger goal is to retention. Exactly. Continuous nurturing. You got to retain those customers. Let's look at our marriage. 40 years ago, when my father got married, my father got married 70 years ago. Not even 70, much more than that. Much more than that. Yeah, it's much more than that. It's because I'm the fifth in the family and long history behind. But when your father got married 50 years ago, 60 years ago, what kind of mindset people had towards marriage? Ownership or membership? It was ownership. When do you have to focus on being good? At onboarding or continuous? It's before marriage. Exactly. It was before marriage. You got to be good, because people will ask the question, does he drink? Even if he drinks, Before marriage, for the first 3 months, he has to make sure that nobody gets to know that he is drinking. Yeah. So this was onboarding. But today, what happened to us is, with regard to the whole shift that happened from ownership to membership, we did that with regard to all the other aspects of our life. We changed our mindset. We stopped thinking about things like owning a car, and we started thinking about going for Zoom. We started shifting ourselves from having permanent furniture in our house to thinking about let's hire furniture whenever we need it. We had a shift from ownership to membership out in the world. But when it came to our marriage, we got stuck to ownership membership, the ownership economy. And that's why many of us, we don't have a wife with us today, because we put so much of effort into getting married. We were extremely nice to our wife, extremely nice to our wife. And she thought that this man is different. This man is different. He's not like all the other guys. He's not like all the other guys. How many of you have heard this from your wife's mouth? You're not like other guys. Just like me in the chat box. You have heard this. You're not like other guys. At the initial phase of your marriage, you're not like other guys. And it was true, by the way. It was absolutely true. And I was not like other guys. I was so caring. I was so loving. But then as soon as the onboarding happened, I believed in everything that everybody says about marriage. And I got into the ownership mindset. People started teasing me because I was nice to my wife. My mother said something negative to me. From now on, you will be in, Bibi ke pallu ke piche. So this is about onboarding. All right. This is about onboarding and continuous nurturing. So the first thing to understand is onboarding versus nurturing. Is today, if I want to have a great marriage, the onboarding is important, but more important than that is continuous nurturing. If you tell me, Val, but in my case, my wife got married to me because her parents told her to get married to me. Is that the reason why we are separated today? Let's say I tell you that the reason my wife got married to me because her parents, wanted her to get married to me. Is that the reason why we are separated? What do you think? It's a no. It is the no. Because if it was true, then all those men whose wife has told them that they were the most wonderful guys, and that's why she got married to them, should not be divorced or separated today. These are the idiotic, thoughts that kill our marriage. People tell me, the problem in a marriage is we have a 14-year-old gap, a 14-year gap. Is that a problem in the marriage? What do you think? It's a myth. Not at all. If that was the problem in our marriage, then all those people who have a 2 years gap, they should be together, but they're not. Are you with me? Please don't believe with these stupid thoughts. When you get into these thoughts, you are heading towards disaster. Disaster. I know that everybody has a thought that why your marriage is going wrong. Sorry for diverting, because I think it is important. When you got into the program, let's ask everybody. And then I want you to ask a challenging question to yourself. Okay. What was the one thought that you had about why you guys are separated or you're going through a difficult marriage? What is the one thought you had? Like, My wife was not compatible with me, things like that, or in-laws. Before you got into the program, not now. Now, this is what you are saying, Hitesh, right now, but this is not what you had at the beginning. The in-laws, the faith, not compatible. It was 50-50. Okay, Hitesh. Yeah. It's me who was the culprit. Now, this is what you're thinking right now, Sandeep, but that's not what generally people think. What were you thinking earlier? What was the problem? Now, what I want you to do, having said this, is ask yourself, are there people on this call right now who are separated or trying to get back or not with a great marriage without that problem that you have? Like, for example, I'll give an example. Do you think we have on our hub people who don't have in-laws, and they're still separated? What do you think? Do you think we have people like that? Just what's your guess? Yes or no? Yes, we have people like that. Suppose if you say, we were not compatible. Do you think we have people on the hub who are married, who are in love for 2 or 3 years before they got married? What do you think? Definitely yes. So no matter what you tell me, the problem in our marriages, it is not true. The problem was when we got married, we were here. Then we moved away. And then the gap was created. So onboarding versus continuous. Onboarding versus continuous. The second one is in traditional ownership membership or ownership communities, the focus is how do I get rid of the customer when he calls me up for any kind of help as quickly as possible. In other words, if somebody in many companies, you have these customer care executives, they are paid or given incentive based on how many calls a day they can handle. How many of you know this? Just write I do in the chat box. You know this, right? In many organizations, you're paid based on the number of calls you can handle. So faster you get rid of the customer, you get paid more. In a membership economy, your focus is not to get rid of the customer. It is not even to solve his problems. Your goal is to make that customer feel successful. How many of you have had the experience of any of the most amazing companies where you called them up, and you said to them, "Can you give me 1 second?" And they said, "No problem, sir. Take your time. Take your time." How many of you have had this experience? You have had this. Why? Because that organization most probably is a membership organization. It's a membership organization. So they know deep down that if they don't take care of you, the next month you're going to cancel their subscription or cancel your subscription. So customer support to customer service. I'm going to tie all this thing later. The third thing is relationship in an ownership economy is transactional. In a membership economy, it is relational. It is relation. It's all about relationships. And 40 years ago, marriage was transactional. 50 years ago, marriage was transactional. The girl and the first people who went to see each other, went to see the girl. Who do you think the first people who went to see the girl? The boy or his family? The parents. The parents. And what did they think? What are the things? What are the criteria on that list they had to tick before the boy sees the girl? I'm talking about, yeah, sanskari is one, cooking is one more, Anything else? Homemaker. What are the other things? The looks is one more. The values, whether she knows stitching, and for some reason, whether she knows singing in some communities. And the most important thing was, along with that, most important thing was kundalis, and most important thing was family background, willing to compromise. What else? Money. Kamlesh, you put it right. It was money, dowry. How much gold are they going to give? Are they going to buy a car for my son? I don't know whether you have done that. I don't know whether you have done that. And that marriage is transactional. It's not relational. That is transactional. And if you have a marriage like that, you can have a miserable marriage. And you might say, no, yaar, but you have not seen your mom and dad fighting when you are younger. Probably you don't remember. You don't remember. And in that time, I'm not here to judge anybody. Please get that right. Because we are not here to judge history. It worked in their situation. It worked. That's why these things were functioning. But today, it doesn't work. So you cannot have a transactional marriage. And the things that went wrong in our marriage is because we got into a marriage not as a relationship. I'm not saying everybody. There are people who had love marriages and all that. I'm saying, if it applies to you, ask yourself, was that true? Was that true? So this is the first thing. And the second thing is, when there is a problem in an organization, I'll give you a couple of problems. Okay. Let's start with, people are not inquiring about a product. What is that I need to fix? We got a great product, but people are not inquiring about it. What's that I need to fix? Use the curiosity. What area? There are different marketing. Exactly. I need to fix marketing. I need to fix marketing. People come to the shop, but they don't buy it. People come to the shop and they don't buy it. The sales. I got to fix the sales. People buy the product, but there are a lot of complaints. The quality of the product. People have people give negative reviews about our service after sales. What do I need to fix? After sales service. It's so interesting, isn't it? The product, review, after sales service, offerings. It's so interesting. You know what's interesting? Just write RTL in the chat box. Write RTL. RTL is ready to learn. It is so interesting that nobody wrote in the chat window customer. If you're smiling, just write, give me a smiley. Nobody wrote customer. I asked you so many questions, and nobody wrote that what you need to fix. Nobody wrote customer. Nobody wrote it. Everybody said, I got to fix our marketing. I got to fix my sales team. I got to fix the quality of the product. I got to fix me. I got to fix me. See that customer is not in our control. Customer is not in our control. The connection with the customer. Problem is our side. But when we look at our marriage, and it's not our fault, by the way, it has been, this is the way we are trained unconsciously, probably. When we get into a power struggle stage, we try to fix the other person. So in why businesses thrive is because we look for solutions inside. Inside. How many of you work in the position of you're at a managerial level, just at me at the chat box. Like you have people reporting to you. So many of you, right? If anybody comes to you and complains about the people they deal with, and they keep complaining, keep complaining, will you say, is it? Your customers do that. They don't buy from you. They don't want your product. And they said this to you. How dare they say that? Would you do that? Would you start blaming? You'll not. You'll not say to that, that guy. You'll ask him, what's wrong? What do you need to fix? What do you need to fix? You don't allow blaming in an organization. And if there is blaming in an organization, if your sales force is blaming, that organization is doomed. It's doomed. You got to fix the product, you got to fix the service. So in business, we look at solution is inside. But with marriage, we think that the other person needs to change. That's why businesses thrive and marriages fail. The third thing is, what's the last word? It's a very popular book. Think and Grow Rich. Who's the author of the book? Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich. Who's the author? Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill. Correct. Yeah. Now look at the most important, very interesting word is, what's the interesting word out here? Think and Grow Rich. Exactly. It's the word is think. The word is think. Because there's so much of things about the way I think. The way I think. Socho or Amir Bano. I think that's the last one. That's the Hindi version. So there is one thing that I want to play for all of you right now about how, if you want to become rich, what you need to do. All right. And then I'm going to ask you, how does that apply to marriage? With becoming rich, he's going to explain to you how does it apply to marriage, because the laws are very similar. If you put your wife in the place of your customer and you start asking yourself the way you ask when a customer is not coming to you. And when I say customer, I'm not talking about one customer. I'm talking about as a group. All right. If you have to think that customers is equal to my wife, and if you start asking the same questions, that if my customers are not coming to me or they are repelled by me, there's something that I need to change. And you start working on yourself and you find the answer. The same with your wife. If she's not coming to me, there's something that I need to change. So I'm going to play this audio. I want you to make a note of what you learn from this about marriage. Look at this. This audio was created in the 1950s. It had a great impact on people's lives. I'm going to talk about this audio probably in the future. Maybe we'll do a Monday meetup on this. It is called The Strangest Secret in the World. And I'm going to play just few seconds of this audio. Listen to him. Let me see whether Got everything in place? Yes.
Gradually, you will have a tendency to forget what you've heard on this recording. Play it often. Keep reminding yourself of what you must do to form this new habit.
Now from here, I would like you to listen to it from here.
Gather your whole family around at regular intervals and listen to what's been said here. You know, most men will tell you that.
Yeah, from here. Most men will tell you that from here.
They want to make money without understanding the law. The only people who make money work in a mint. The rest of us must earn money. This is what causes those who keep looking for something for nothing or a free ride to fail in life. The only way to earn money is by providing people with services or products which are needed and useful. We exchange our time and our product or service for the other man's money. Therefore, the law is that our financial return will be in direct proportion to our service. Now, success is not the result of making money. Making money is the result of success, and success is in direct proportion to our service.
What do you learn about marriage from all that he said? Yeah, many of you are listening to it daily. Beautiful. Even I do the same. We got to keep loving. Slow is fast, fast is slow, caring, love, anything else. Getting back is the result of becoming an awesome, should be consistent, invest in the relationship. Every second is important, beautiful. Anything else? Every second is important. Success comes from consistency. And what is the word he says? Success is the result of what does he say? You're only successful is a result of service. Thank you, Rishabh. Is a result of service. So if you are giving service, then only you are successful. So what is the first thing I got to do in order to be successful? I got to serve. I got to serve. I got to give. I got to give. Now this applies to everything in life. Business, marriage. If you tell me, gentlemen, that your wife was so loving and caring, not because of anything else. How many of you can, I want you to do this, okay? Let's do this together. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to remember a particular day. It could be 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I want you to remember a particular day or particular moment or particular conversation that was so good. Or it could be that you had gone to some place and it was so amazing. It was with your wife and you enjoyed it. It could be a meal you had together and it was so good. Not the meal itself, but you enjoyed with each other's company. It could be a historical place you went to, but you enjoyed it thoroughly together. She was so good to you. You had a lot of fun. She was laughing and whatever, whatever. I'm sure you have these moments. If you have just joined, probably your mind will be filled with negativity at this moment. So you might not be able to see it. So it's fine. Now I want you to open your eyes and write in the chat box, what was that? It's a trip to Jaipur. Thank you, Hitesh, for sharing. What was that incident? Or what was that time? You're sitting on the terrace and we just were talking like that. Just write one of them. Trip to Shimla. Trip to Shimla. Trip to Goa. Dinner at beach in Goa. Coral Beach. Each and every moment of my life was amazing with her. I want you to choose one incident for this exercise. Having regular meal in single plate every day. Trip for kids first food. I'm missing some of them. Marine Drive, Dubai trip, Chennai went with a trip to Goa, Christmas market, Manchester, in public place at Ahmedabad Carnival, watching movies together, wedding day celebration, trip to Bhubaneswar, industrial tour, spending the night in a train, awake whole night, trip to Coorg, trip to Nainital, trip to Agartala. Now I want you to close your eyes again. I want you to close your eyes again. And now, when you close your eyes, I want you to imagine you are standing there looking at yourself with your wife. That means you're a bystander looking at yourself with your wife. You're, let's say you're on your way to Shimla and your wife and you are in the bus and you are looking at, like, it's like a CCTV camera. A CCTV camera is capturing what's happening. What is that yourself is doing? So if I'm doing it with myself, so I'm going to look at Val with Pallavi. That's what I mean. I'm looking at Val with Pallavi, let's say going to Shimla. And I'm focusing on not on Pallavi, how nicely she's talking to Val, how nicely she's interacting with Val. No, I'm looking at Val. What is he doing that is making her be so nice to Val? What is he doing? What is he saying? How is he behaving? It's the same with you. What is it about you that made her so loving at that particular point? What is it about you? What did you do? What did you say? How did you behave? Once you're done with that, gently open your eyes and write in the chat box. Giving her all attention, she mattered to me. How did you do that? If you can, explain it. Like if the CCTV camera captures it, what will it see you doing it? Probably you said, okay, would you like to take them? See these small things. Would you like to take this window seat in the bus? Now, small things like that. You get vomiting, right? Shall I get a plastic for you? Like small things like that. So be very, very specific. When you say appreciate her, I don't understand that. Be very specific. Just thinking being with her brought a smile on your face. Being concerned of her well-being, checking on her. Exactly. And when you say care for her, explain it to me. Washing kitchen utensils. Thank you, Vinod. Asking her if she's okay. Exactly. These are the things I'm talking about. Shall I have a favorite food? I was holding her hand. Caring about her is very vague. What did you do that showed that you're caring about her? You are holding her hand. You took a hand into hers. You held her hand and said, I always want to visit Goa like this every year. She was very tired on that day. As she was lying on the train berth, I kissed on her forehead. She opened her eyes and hugged me. That's what you did. When you are back from office, talking with her, it's happened. Me at that time, she had me watching with her whole day and what I did. So you spoke to her, telling her you come first, holding her hand and waving my hand on her hair. And obviously that made her feel special. You lifted her in front of Taj Mahal. Made us feel special, You're holding her all the time at the carnival. The eyes on the mountain and we having a photo shoot. So what I want you to understand, giving your shoulder when she fell asleep, what I want you to understand, just write RTL in the chat box. Early morning flight to Delhi and stood outside the PG, holding a hand at Nandi is, okay, the first thing in business, nothing happens by itself. Customers just don't come by itself. I am taking a long time to understand this, because I'm learning it right now. Probably you are way, way ahead of me because you have been this field of customers and business and things like that for way ahead of me. I'm learning this. And one of the things I keep reminding myself is the reason why when somebody joins a hub, I ask myself, what is it that I did that made him to join the hub? First question. When a lot of people attend the webinar masterclass, I ask myself, what is it that I did that made them to attend the masterclass? What is it that I did? Not you did. What is that I did? And in your business also, you keep asking these questions. Am I right? Why are the customers coming to me, not to the other guy? Don't you ask these questions? If you're running your own business, especially, why are they coming to me? You keep asking these questions. And you get an answer because I'm like this, I'm like this, I'm like this. And if you stop being like that from tomorrow onwards, do you think people will come to you? No, people won't come to you. As simple as that. Is it because they have changed? No. Did they decide not to come to you? Yes, but as a reaction to your action. So what am I trying to say, gentlemen? If you can get this one thing right, your wife is not an idiot. I'm saying it straight on each of our faces. She's not a fool. She's very, very intelligent. Because many of us think that our wife has known this. She can be influenced by anybody and everybody. Many of us think that way. Not true. The day when we realize that it was I who made her feel loved, it was because of me we had a great time. It was because of me it was awesome going out there. The day I realized if that was true, it is also because of me my wife has left me, not because of her. My wife is not having a great relationship with me, not because of her. And if that is true, how many of you agree with that? Just write agree in the chat box. And if that is true, what's the last sentence? What do you think is the last sentence? It is because of me we had a great time. It is because of me my wife is not happy with me or not having a great marriage. What do you think is my last sentence? If that is true, then I need to do it is because of me my wife will come back. It's because of me, not because of her. She's just reacting to me. Somebody said out here, my wife gave me a hug. Sorry, my girlfriend or wife gave me a hug. Why did she give you a hug? Because you put a hand on her head. That's it. If you had not put your hand on her head, she wouldn't have given you a hug. So that's how it is. That's how it is. So let's always look at our marriage, not like like in business we don't think like, "Arey yaar, ye to God ka hai, I can't do anything about it." No, we don't think like that. We say to ourselves, "I need to fix something within me." Let's start thinking the same way with our marriage. I had years ago, I was teaching class 4 students. I always remember this guy's name. His name is Cruz Grant. I don't know where he is. This was about 20 years ago. 20, 22 years ago. I was teaching class 4 students. and I used to teach them moral science. And I used to teach them moral science no matter what story I told them. At the end of that story, no matter what story, I would ask, what do you think is the moral of this story? And this Cruz Grant will put up his hand, tiny fellow, he would put up his hand. And no matter what the story is, no matter what the moral is, he had only one moral. God helps those who help themselves. That's it. That was his moral for any story. No matter what story you tell him. God helps those who help themselves. That was his moral. So that's what it is. Those of you who say, God is going to help us, he only helps those who help themselves. That's what we need to do. So before we end, gentlemen, quick question. I think I just saw a message from one of our awesome husbands. He said to you guys, did you see that message? How many of you saw that message? Just write me, if you remember seeing the message. Just now, Govind, I think, who wrote that, please don't something, don't delay, something like that. How many of you remember that? Yeah, you saw it, right? Don't delay, correct. It was about don't delay, right? Yeah. So please don't delay, all right? Because, if your wife is waiting there and you're not learning and you're not doing the right things can be late. Things can be really late. So how many of you are at level 1? Just write L1 in the chat box. L1 in the chat box. What is the fourth reason? I had covered it. It was no excuses. Not to have any excuses. Kamlesh, you want to share something? Is that a question or something that happened that can inspire us? If it is a question, write Q. If it is something that is going to inspire us, write I. Okay, something that can inspire us. Then we would love to hear you. Kamlesh, just give me one sec. Yes, Kamlesh, I've unmuted you. Yeah, you can just unmute yourself and you can speak. Tell us what happened that can inspire us.
Yes, I shared the first level that I shared to my wife that I've enrolled on this course, and I've just started to understand where the mistake lies in me. So as usual, she said that yeah, it doesn't matter to her, and we have all lost it out. So I kept my calm, and then I told her very firmly and very lovingly that I still love you, and I need to fix this up. So things slightly mellowed down at the end, slightly mellowed down, and I could see a ray of light over there.
Amazing. Can I ask you a question, Kamlesh?
Sure.
How are you being different this time than how you used to be earlier? Because again, it's all about yourself, right?
Yes. Honestly, for the last almost 2 years, 2 to 3 years, a lot of things had changed. And I just heard with one of the seminars which I was learning for my own well-being at work, that we have a mask which we wear to every aspect of life what we are in. But knowingly or unknowingly, we forget to change the mask, because the way we are there in office and doing our goals on a daily basis, on a yearly basis, on a quarterly basis, that requires certain rule book and a certain way of approaching to customers and to inside staff and to production houses and to every aspect of business, which is very strict. But we forget to remove that mask, and that happened. And times were bad because we had COVID in, and apparently there were financial crises going on because of too many things happening at the same time. So the anxiety and the issues which happened actually, waved out the love which was in, and I really forgot that we were made for each other, and we had that love within us, because of which everything went haywire. And
Right.
just at the point, where everything was going to be okay and everything was going to be perfect, it all got screwed up. It all got screwed up. So I have asked her, she has said that it will not matter to her, and things will be the way she wants to be. And we have to go in for a mutual divorce. She's asking me to accompany her to the lawyer for signing it across. And I'm
Right.
just
I have a
asking her
question.
time.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a moment. Coming back, you said that as we spoke, there was a slight change you could see in her. Didn't you say that?
Yes, yes.
So, what about you that brought, what did you do, or how did you behave that brought about that slight change?
Honestly, to be very specific, uh, since I lead a team, on a general note, I'm being very calm to everybody in my team. But there are instances where, going forward, there are certain cases where I explore and I don't behave the normal way. But then when I come back home, I'm already frustrated with the kind of issues which are there in office. And by carrying them home, that's the most idiotic thing I've ever done. So the entire frustration was on me, because uh, when you have your hands to a lot of things around you,
Right.
you fail miserably. There are two things in life. One, too many cooks spoil the soup. That's the regular saying what happens. But the other way is, one cook making too many dishes also spoils everything. So I think I
Right.
was that one cook, which was who I was putting my hands to a lot of things together. I had my real estate plans which was there on place, so that got duped out because of the rare act coming into the place. And then
I'm going to interrupt you again,
yes,
Kamlesh. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'm going to ask you the same question again. What? How were you different in that one
Uh,
conversation that you had?
I'm just coming to that. So
Yeah,
the
I just
only
want you to share
change,
only that. Only that.
yeah. So the only thing which changed was, I had calmed myself down. I had calmed my anxiety. I
Amazing.
had calmed my anger down. I had calmed my overreaction down. That was the only thing
Beautiful.
which helped me to change and have that one slight ray of hope. I'm actually catching that up at the moment. Uh, you know, darkness is too much. Darkness is 99%. I can see 1% of light, and I need to convert that 1% of light to 99% to 100% of light.
That's exactly how it goes. Beautiful. Thank you, Kamlesh. Thanks a lot for sharing this. That was awesome. That
Yeah.
one thing. Thank you. One thing. How many of you have heard this? That podcast, the compounding effect. And Kamlesh, you put it beautifully. He said it just, I can see 1% hope. And you'll see now that 1% becomes 2%. And you don't have to make it from 1 to 100%. No, it's just 1%, then the second person. Now, when she goes to bed tonight, you know what she's going to think for herself? Take a guess. Everybody, when she goes to bed tonight, no matter what she has told you today, regardless of what she has told you, but when she goes to bed tonight, what do you think his wife is going to think? He was different. What the hell is wrong with him? That's what she's going to ask herself. What the hell is wrong with him? And that's what she's going to ask. He has changed. And she's, as many of you said, she's going to doubt. Obviously, she's going to notice. She noticed. She's going to doubt. Then she's going to resist, and she's going to resist, and she's going to resist, and she's going to resist. Then she realizes that I'm an idiot to resist. She gives in. That's how the things work out. All right, gentlemen, those of you who are at level 1, there are 5 things. No, there are 4 things that are mandatory that you got to complete. Okay. The first one is the blueprint. The second one is blueprint. The second one is what is it? Anger management. The third thing you got to complete is forgiveness formula. And if you're separated, the fourth one is separation to connection. Those of you who are at level 1, how many of you have finished this? Just write I in the chat box. You have finished these 4 things. Just write I in the chat box. Only people who are in level 1. If you have finished these 4 things, just write I. Just write I. Okay. Now, those of you have finished it, watch. You have finished it, correct? Those of you have finished it, go to this link and check out. You want me to repeat it? There are those of you who have joined yesterday. There are a lot of things you got to finish. Okay, so there are 4 things you got to finish it. Blueprint. The second one is anger. The third one is forgiveness, and the fourth one is separation. Separation to connection. These are the main 4 things. If you have finished it, then I would like you to watch the 30 minutes video called coachval.co/next level, and it has the next 2 levels. I'm going to give you a quick look at the next 2 levels. And let me tell you that it is not mandatory. It is for people who are really committed and want me to help you more. There's one way I can help you is Monday and Tuesday. But there is a bigger way I can help you is once you understand your and your wife's personality type. Okay, once you understand your personality type, your wife's personality type, your journey will be different from everybody else's. And after that, you join the Loveathon. Loveathon is for 6 months. I'm going to coach you in a group week after week. We have so many men who are at Loveathon and turning their marriage around. So for all the details, just go here, coachval.co/next level, watch the 30 minutes video and check it out for yourself. Are you ready to move to the next level? If yes, make that decision. So that's all from my side, gentlemen. Small note about tomorrow's Getting Back Tuesdays. Tomorrow, we are going to have a Getting Back Tuesdays, but I will not be there. Okay. We got some friends coming over and I got to be there. So I cannot, I just need to be there. So I am not going to be there tomorrow doing the Getting Back Tuesdays. You're going to go through a recording of our previous Getting Back Tuesdays, but you're going to watch it not anytime, exactly from 9 o'clock to till it finishes. How many of you can? I'll give you the link at 9 o'clock. I'll ask somebody to share the link. I'll share it with someone. I'm going to give that link at 9 o'clock. And once that thing is over, once the session is over, I'm going to remove that video. How many of you are committed to be there at 9 o'clock? Just write I in the chat box. I in the chat box. Committed to be there at 9 o'clock. Awesome. Awesome. I really appreciate that. I want you to have a book and a pen. And as I'm doing it, think that it's a live session and keep making notes. Keep making notes. Okay? That's the way you go about. So somebody is saying, I have a question. Don't worry about the questions at this moment. Keep your questions aside because the questions will mislead you. Because every question of yours would be asking me for advice. There is no advice I can give you. The only advice I can give you is follow the process. That is 1, 2, and 3. Follow the process. And if you still want to ask me, you can send me an email at any of the emails that you have received from me. Just reply to that email. So that's all, gentlemen. Before you go to bed, just go to the WhatsApp group. And if there is something that you have learned from the session, please write it. So thanks a lot. God bless and good night. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.